It started like any ordinary afternoon at a quiet Navy bar near the docks, where stories were told louder than the music and memories weighed heavier than the bottles on the shelves. The kind of place where veterans sat in silence, watching the younger sailors laugh at jokes they'd already lived through. Among them sat a man who didn't quite belong, a single dad named Jake Carson, broad-shouldered, calm-eyed, wearing an old gray hoodie and a look of quiet fatigue. He wasn't there to drink, just to breathe for a while. Life as a mechanic barely covered rent, and with his daughter Lily's asthma treatment costs piling up, peace came only in brief moments like this. Then came the sound of boots, polished, authoritative, entering the bar. Conversations lowered to whispers. A man in full uniform walked in, his posture sharp, his presence commanding. Admiral Dean Rawlings, a legend among SEALs, decorated with more stars than most could dream of earning. He was known for his confidence, sometimes mistaken for arrogance. His gaze swept the room until it landed on Jake. "Haven't seen you before," Rawlings said with a smirk, pulling up a stool. "You serve, son." Jake looked up, unbothered. "Used to," he said quietly. Rawlings grinned. "Used to, huh? Let me guess, Army cook. Or maybe the guy who drove the trucks." His tone was teasing, not cruel, but loud enough that a few young sailors chuckled nearby. Jake didn't flinch. "SEALs," he replied, taking a sip from his glass. That made Rawlings raise a brow. "SEALs, huh? What team?" Jake hesitated. He hadn't spoken about his old life in years. "Team 6. The Admiral laughed. "Team 6. Oh sure, everyone says that. What was your call sign, then?" He said it jokingly, expecting a made-up answer, some silly nickname like Mad Dog or Eagle. Jake looked at him, eyes steady, calm, but hiding something deeper. "Iron Ghost." The bar fell silent. Even the music seemed to fade into the background. The Admiral's smirk disappeared. His face drained of color. He turned slowly, searching Jake's expression, trying to read the truth in it. "Iron Ghost," he repeated, almost a whisper. Jake nodded once. Every veteran in that bar knew the name, not as a legend, but as a ghost story whispered in briefing rooms and war zones. Iron Ghost was the operative who led a rescue mission so impossible it was classified top secret, one that saved 12 SEALs from behind enemy lines but cost his entire squad except him. He vanished after that, leaving no trace in the records. Some said he died. Others said he walked away from the uniform when he realized even heroes can't save everyone. Rawlings stood up slowly. You're Carson." Jake didn't answer. He didn't need to. The Admiral's voice softened, losing every ounce of superiority. "Sir, I read your file when I was a commander. You saved my brother's unit in Kandahar." His voice cracked slightly. "We thought you were gone." Jake looked away, his jaw tightening. "Parts of me are," he said quietly. The bar was dead silent. Then, breaking the tension, Jake's phone buzzed. A picture of his daughter popped up, a smiling, gap-toothed girl holding her inhaler like a trophy. He smiled faintly, answered, and said softly, "Hey, kiddo. Daddy's coming home soon." When he hung up, Rawlings sat down again, different now, humbled. "You got a daughter." Jake nodded. "She's the only reason I'm still standing." The Admiral exhaled, his voice trembling between guilt and admiration. "You walked away from everything." Jake looked him in the eye. "No, sir. I walked towards something that still needed saving." That line hit everyone in the room. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was respect. Rawlings raised his glass, his tone sincere. "To Iron Ghost, and to all the heroes who keep fighting battles no one sees." The rest of the night, no one dared to interrupt. They listened as Jake shared pieces of his story, not the classified missions or the medals, but the pain of loss, the struggle of fatherhood, and the quiet strength of a man who chose love over glory. He told them about the nights his daughter's breathing scared him more than gunfire, and the mornings he forced himself out of bed to fix cars just to pay for her medicine. And when he finished, every person in that bar stood and saluted him. The Admiral approached him again before leaving. "Carson," he said, voice steady but emotional, "the Navy could use men like you again. You ever think about coming back?" Jake smiled faintly, shaking his head. "Sir, I already have a mission." He walked out into the cold night, his hands in his pockets, stars glimmering above like the ghosts of his brothers watching over him. Later, Rawlings would make a call, quietly, without ceremony, arranging that Jake's daughter's medical bills would be covered by a veterans fund. Jake never found out who did it. He just noticed one day that the hospital stopped sending invoices. And every now and then, the Admiral would visit that same bar, look at the empty stool Jake once sat on, and remind young sailors, respect every man who's walked through the fire, you never know who's behind the scars. Because some legends don't live in stories or medals, they live in the quiet hearts of those who never stopped fighting, even when the world stopped watching. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, not just for stories like this, but for every unsung hero still fighting battles we may never see.